Welcome to video 3 about norms in diverse society. In this module, we have discussed how social norms can affect our mental health and leisure experiences. In this last video, we would like to talk about how these constraining norms do not affect all of us equally. Rather, they affect us disproportionately across social groups. Let's think about the case of gender and sexuality. Pat is a U of A student who identifies as a queer individual. Although they love to participate in many recreation activities, in some recreation settings, they experience frustration and discouragement every time they see things like men's or women's locker rooms, men's or women's bathrooms, or even worse, men's or women's leagues. This binary expression makes Pat feel that they do not belong to these spaces. Not feeling included in these spaces undermines Pat's motivation for active leisure engagement and has negative impacts on their mental health. This hypothetical case of Pat shows that constraining norms around leisure and mental health affect some people more than others. So it is important to understand different norms in our diverse society, not just for yourself, but also for other people in your community. In terms of mental health, research shows that the mental health challenges are more prevalent among students with LGBTQIA2+ identity, some racialized students, and students coming from low-income backgrounds. One of the main factors here is so-called minority stress, which suggests that students in social minority groups are more likely to experience stressors such as prejudice and discrimination. Such negative experiences often lead minority students to hide their minority identities or to stay vigilant in many social situations. Doing so every day can have negative effects on their mental health and well-being. How can we address minority stress in the university context? If you belong to a minority group, it is important to seek support from professionals who understand how social diversity impacts mental health. Once again, the U of A has a new service called Empower Me, which is described as multilingual, culturally sensitive, gender inclusive, and faith inclusive. When you look for therapists outside the campus, make sure to check if their websites specify the type of expertise you are looking for. For example, you could look up LGBTQ affirming and queer-friendly psychologist. In addition to professional support, peer support from students who share similar experiences and identities can be invaluable. At the U of A, we have a program called The Landing to students who identify as LGBTQIA2+. There is also First People's House to support Indigenous students. Also important to know is how stigmas and help-seeking behaviors related to mental health vary across social groups among university students. As we mentioned in video 1, research shows that personal stigmas related to mental health are more common within the following student groups: male, Asian, international, religious, or coming from a poor family background. Thus, these groups of students tend not to seek mental health support, even though they may need it. Let's unpack why this might be the case. In terms of gender, masculinity is often associated with not expressing our emotions and not seeking help from others. Some racialized communities, whether born outside of Canada or not, tend to see mental health as a taboo topic, especially due to their concerns about other people's judgment. Part of the reason why religious students tend not to seek professional support may be because they seek informal support from family, church members, and clergies. Low-income families may not have used mental health services due to lack of insurance, and thus these families may not value such treatments. When we find ourselves being part of these social groups, it would be crucial for us to find a community where mental health is valued and help-seeking is normal. I encourage you to check out the above groups and many other groups available at the U of A and beyond. Lastly, constraining norms around leisure also vary across social groups. In terms of gender, for example, many recreation activities are gendered or associated with certain gender stereotypes. For example, many people may consider physical contact sports for men while expressive activities like dance for women. Moreover, feminist researchers have argued that traditional ideas of femininity sometimes prevent women from prioritizing their own needs over their family members' and friends' needs, which hinders women's leisure and mental health. As students, we may find that these gender norms affect our leisure experiences. All other aspects of social diversity, such as race, ethnicity, sexuality, age, and socioeconomic status, can affect our leisure through related constraining norms. But let's talk about something that we have not discussed much so far: disability. In addition to mental health, many people experience different forms of disabilities. Researchers have identified that one of the major barriers to leisure of people with disability is society's views of disability. When able-bodied people, such as recreation staff, associate disability with the lack of abilities, they may discourage leisure participation by potential clients with disabilities. Or when other able-bodied participants in a group recreation setting have a limited understanding of disabilities, they might try to help participants with disabilities when they do not need help, which could undermine the quality of their leisure experiences. What can we do to address these norms that affect leisure of students coming from diverse backgrounds? Some of the strategies we learned in the video 2, such as finding an inclusive, safe community, can be helpful. Sometimes a community of people who share similar experiences help us be free from these constraining norms, even temporarily. In addition, according to research, engaging in leisure that is different from stereotypes can challenge people's understanding of a certain group of people and their leisure. This is called resistance. For example, increasing popularity of roller derby, a sport that involves much body contact and embraces different body types, has challenged traditional ideas of femininity and women's leisure. If you do not know what roller derby is, look it up on YouTube. It can change your perspective. And lastly, it is important to know that we all have the power to either reproduce the norms or challenge them for other people. That is, if we do not have a disability, us educating ourselves with the different types of leisure people with disabilities enjoy and excel at can challenge our assumptions about this group of people. This way, we can create a society that is kind to each other's leisure and mental health. For this week, we want you to try 2 learning activities. First, we invite you to reflect on what norms in your life negatively impact your mental health and leisure in your learning journal. Also, identify at least one strategy that may help you with it. Second, as we discussed toward the end of this video, find a video or news article about leisure of a certain social group that might challenge our assumptions about that group. For example, I'm going to put a link to the video about roller derby, which might change how we see women's leisure. Share your findings with the group through eClass discussion forum along with your thoughts.